Well, a knuckleball is generally held with 2 fingernails. As you bring the ball forward, the job of the pitcher is to throw the ball out of their hand with very little rotation. If there's any rotation, you want it spinning forward so it bites into the wind. And the air flows over the seams, creates all sorts of turbulence, pushes the ball around maybe 3 or 4 times on the way to the plate. It's generally pretty unpredictable, and yeah, it's the rarest pitch in the game.
Are there different ways to throw knuckleballs?
Theoretically, yes. If you can throw a ball with very little rotation at 65 miles an hour or harder, then there's unlimited ways, but there's only been really one way that has succeeded at the major league level.
When it comes to your fingernails, if you break one, is that going to fuck up your day on the mound? Do you use like a nail strengthener, any type of nail polish or anything to like keep your nails strong? How important, I guess, is that?
Well, fingernail health is very important, but there's really 2 schools of thought on the fingernails. Now, I use really, really short fingernails. They're less than 1 millimeter. There's very little risk of breakage. A guy like Alex Blandino, who's coming up through the minor leagues with the Reds, he uses longer fingernails. And that's just so that he can get more of his fingertip on the ball for leverage, so he can throw it a little faster. But it's really up to preference. Obviously, if you break a fingernail, it ruins your day for sure, but you can put silk screens on there. You can go to the nail salon and get it fixed and be ready for the next day.
Yeah. When you're throwing it, you're using your fingertips to push off the ball, and the nails are there to stabilize?
The way I feel is that the nails throw the ball.
Okay.
The finger pad underneath is just there for sort of guidance. I keep my nails really stout. It gives me a very firm, sort of clean contact surface area on the ball.
So you're almost flicking the ball like with your nail?
No. When the ball accelerates towards the plate, it sort of starts to gain weight, and my fingertips act as shock absorbers. They sort of balance and take the weight of the ball, and they squish backwards. And at a certain weight, you just let the ball go. If you end up flicking, the ball will likely spin.
Spin more. Really?
Well, I mean, the knuckleball is the most difficult pitch in the game, so showing off your grip isn't going to give away any secrets. Charlie Hough always told me that he could take me all the way to the release, and he can't explain to you how it feels. So finding that feel is, a personal journey that could last years. I know RA Dickey said it took him 5 years.
To get that feeling
To get that feeling consistent, yeah. It's being overlooked because velocity is an easy bet, and it's something you can teach now.
Yeah.
And if you're a baseball executive that has aspirations of maybe being a GM one day, you're not going to stamp your name on a guy throwing 70 miles an hour. You're going to instead err on the side of caution and sign the guy that throws 100, even though he might not be successful. You're not going to be blamed for that guy failing. And so there's sort of an institutional bias towards the knuckleball, and then on the other hand, the trackers are pretty much incapable of tracking the ball, so there is no hard data on its effectiveness. There's no way for the baseball nerds to break it down. So people are afraid of what they don't understand. But a well-thrown knuckleball is one of the best pitches in the game. It's completely unhittable. It's just scouts don't know what they're looking for. The metrics guys don't know how to measure it. And front office guys aren't willing to put their name on it. Sort of the sweet spot for the most movement is the high 60s, from 67 to 71-ish. It allows the ball the most time to travel to the plate, so it can break 3 or 4 times. It becomes pretty hard to control at that velocity if you throw it with 0 rotation, just because you have absolutely no idea where it's going. Once you creep up into the 70s, it has less time to travel. One of those breaks will be shaved off just by the time it takes to get to the plate. And then once you get up into the 80s, you're looking at maybe 2 breaks, probably 1, because it has such little time to get to the plate. But as you throw it harder, the possible area it goes narrows and narrows and narrows. It becomes easier to throw strikes. No, I mean, you shouldn't try to be deceptive at all as a knuckleballer. You want the ball to do all the work for you. So you're trying to entice the hitter to swing and swing early. So you're trying to make it look like a beach ball. You want the hitter to read strike right out of your hand and be ready to swing like they want to crush it, and then hopefully they hit a piece of it back at you. The vast majority of guys that have had success in the big leagues go right there at the top of the horseshoe, right across the logo, and I threw like that for a very long time. But just the shape of my hand, when I rolled it over, this seam just sits on the outside of my thumb and feels very stable. It's just a preference thing. There's no real rhyme or reason to it other than that. It just feels more stable in my hand. Yeah, very few people can actually do that.
Why?
I don't know. It didn't come too difficult to me. That's why, Huff called me horseshoe potential. the ball actually gains weight as it goes to the plate, so your fingertips start squishing back. And then at a certain weight, you just kind of let it go. If you flick, you put force on it. But there's another, because the ball doesn't sit on my palm.
Right.
So it floats. Okay. So it has a little room to kind of seat. Because as you accelerate, literally the term is weight. Yeah. Weight is like mass plus, yeah. So it starts like seating back in there deeper. And then at a certain weight, you know it's balanced and it's just ready to come out. And if you do anything to manipulate that, and that's the hard thing, is to sit there kind of half passively and let it go. And if you look at Hough, he uses a very loose wrist and is very active. And that's how I throw it, just because that's how he was taught by Hoyt Wilhelm, the Hall of Famer that taught him. And then I got to Phil and he started locking, hey, lock your wrist up, hold it tight. Or Hough is telling me to hold it loose and flip it. And it's just, there's no one right way, but that's how it feels for me.
Yeah.
Knuckleball progress is 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So some days you're like, oh, it's easy. And then the next day it's really difficult. And that goes on for years. And then there'll be times you'll be standing there in a game, you go, oh, I felt that. Like, okay, lock into that feeling. And then the more and more you throw, then suddenly it's like you don't even have to worry about it anymore. So, right now I could play catch and square somebody up in the chest right now. I could throw it falling down at this point.
Yeah.
But I mean, that took
muscle memory.
Took for 20 years to figure out. I was learning alongside RA Dickey in the same bullpen. He had been up and down in the big leagues at that point, and as a normal pitcher. And he looked pretty exhausted by the idea that the Rangers wanted to be a knuckleballer. And the Rangers instructed him to throw slowly, because Wakefield was the only guy doing it at the time. And RA had such a strong arm, he looked almost like he wasn't trying. And, he didn't have this incredibly good touch for that slow knuckleball. And then when Hough was working with me, I'd never played baseball. I'd never played baseball in Little League or college or high school even. So I had terrible mechanics, but I was able to kill the spin really well. And that's why he called me, horseshit with potential. And so the way he taught me was very frustrating. He wouldn't even watch the ball. So I'd throw a great knuckleball and hit the catcher, and he wouldn't care, and he'd say, your foot's in the wrong spot. Go fix that. And I was living in Scottsdale at the time, so I'd drive all the way home, work on it for a few weeks, call him up again, and come back out. And so it was piece by piece from the ground up that he cleaned my mechanics up. And then once those were cleaned up, it was just a matter of repetitions, and then suddenly, almost every time out of my hand, it was pretty good. What's odd about the catcher is some guys aren't intimidated by it at all, and they can actually see it and catch it pretty well. And it seems to be a natural born thing. And there are very good catchers that I've really tuned up. So sometimes it'll be the bullpen catcher of a minor league team that can handle it really well, and then I'll get in the game and suddenly the ball's going to the backstop. The guys who catch it easily actually frustrate me because I'm like, oh, I'm used to hitting catchers, so what's going on here? The big power hitters of the other team suddenly turn into, the worst hitters on the team, where maybe the number 7 guy doesn't see it and hits it well. Yeah. So it's scouting reports go out the windows, and nothing really matters. Yeah. I mean, he grips it something like I do, and but when he throws it down here, and then he rolls over it to make sure it spins forward. Whereas if you're really trying to kill a spin, you'd stay behind it, yeah. The knuckleball is not completely random. It still follows what rotation's on the ball. So if it comes out spinning a little bit backwards, that's the worst pitch in the game because it won't break up. Okay. Gravity's pulling on it at the same time. It's trying to go up, so that's very, very flat.
And then it actually is a beach ball?
Yeah. Yeah. Occasionally, once a month, it'll actually break through. Okay. But you can't rely on it. So you really walk a tightrope as a knuckleballer. This is unhittable. This is the worst pitch you can throw. And the difference in that release is maybe 2 millimeters. You're shooting for 9 out of 10 well thrown. By well thrown, it's anything 1 rotation or less forward like that. And if you mess up, you'll see the ball come out like that, and you have to fix that immediately. Yeah. But one of the people's favorite knuckleballs to watch is this corkscrew one. And it actually goes like that. Yeah. But that's almost a mistake because you're very close to the backward spinner. So as a pitcher, you see that it competes really well. Nobody hits it. Yeah. But you go, I got to adjust. Yeah. But everybody else goes, oh my God.
again?
Yeah, they go, oh yeah, do it again. It's like, no, I'm not gonna flirt with that, yeah. So you have to bring it, a millimeter up to send it forward.
Yeah.
So it's not just killing the spin, it's controlling what little turn is on the ball. And then when you break that news to people, when Charlie broke that news to me, I was like, come on.
Yeah.
You can't be serious, you can do that. And
Right.
then he taught me how to do it.
Yeah.